As the market starts to wobble, it's starting to look like we might be getting some better buying opportunities coming up ahead. Now that might not mean today, right now, this second, but I do think over time, over the next several potential weeks, this could be kind of the last really great opportunity before we see a nice run into the end of the year. And again, I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot time anything exactly or perfectly, but we're going to be looking through the ZBCN and Onyx coin charts today specifically, just so you can see the opportunities that we are seeing kind of arise just based on some technical structures here. I think we still have maybe a little bit further to go for Onyx coin, but ZBCN looking like it's in a very, very good spot, tied with some good news coming out for the ZBCN token as well. So lots of things happening. We'll go talk about all of it today. Also some more big buying coming in into the crypto markets. We'll discuss that here in just 1 second as well. But first off, we can see, if we do look at the crypto bubbles here, we can see actually a red day on the day here, but we can see a couple things up kind of in somewhat limited capacities. World Liberty Financial is kind of the biggest down in the market. But we can also see, Sky and Maker, which are essentially kind of tied to each other. Those are up a decent bit. Athena's up a decent bit. We actually opened an Athena trade, so I'll show that here in a second. We have BGB up a decent bit. We have M and Form also both up a decent bit, but with most of the rest of the market down. However, if we do look at the week, we are slightly green. However, you can see still probably more red than green. It's just the greens happen to be much larger than the reds here. So we, kind of the winners win big, and then just the majority of the market kind of lost a decent bit. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now in the market. However, there are people taking advantage of this uncertainty to actually get in and buy more Bitcoin. You probably know who it is. It is Michael Saylor and MicroStrategies. You can see here MicroStrategy just bought another 4,000 Bitcoin worth $444 million. The company now holds 636,500 Bitcoin total. So another really, really massive move here from Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. They're just always buying. Bitcoin goes up, they buy. Bitcoin goes down, they buy. And I think that's a pretty good strategy overall, especially when we see kind of a little bit of a more extended pullback like this one. It's a decent bit. Like if you're going to be buying Bitcoin anyway, it's a decent time to be getting a bit more Bitcoin just on discount here. So I think that is a pretty interesting type of move here. Also, I did want to talk a little bit about this Athena trade before we go move into ZBCN and Onyx coin and discuss kind of some of their structures and what they have going on. Here you can see we did actually jump into this Athena trade. I can blow it up and show you a little bit of what we were getting into. You can see here Athena has kind of basically been just kind of range bound. It's been range trading here. You could see, about kind of the support level at this level, and then we've been seeing kind of a resistance level kind of in this range, maybe even up here is kind of like the higher resistance level. So you could see, we kind of entered as it got to the bottom of this channel, is now seeing a fairly nice move to the upside, and then, hopefully it continues to push up to this channel. Given the, given the wobbliness in the market, it is always, maybe a little bit of a dangerous trade to take this all the way back up. So we might start to look at securing some profits. We'll see. But you can see, at least as of right now, up about 188%. So not too bad of a move there. Again, this is something that's going to be, it's a 20x, so it's going to be a lot more kind of high risk. But you can see, kind of based on the entry and the exit, very, very tight stop losses when you're trading with this type of thing. If you're looking to do a much longer and wider swing trade, then of course at least I personally do much lower leverage. I only do higher leverage on the very, very kind of aggressive short-term scalping moves that I'm looking to see. So overall, that's kind of what we have so far with Onyx coin, with Athena, excuse me. If you are interested, I do have all those links in the description below between BTCC, BloFin, as well as Weex. You can see I am using Weex currently, but BTCC currently has a really, really nice new deposit bonus deal where you get essentially 10% of your money for free as a deposit bonus for any new money that you do bring on to the account. So that is a really, really good deal. If you are interested, you can only get it using my link in the description. But I want to move on and start taking a look at ZBCN, because ZBCN, in my opinion, kind of as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, looking to be a bit more in a good position than maybe what we're seeing out of Onyx coin. Although Onyx coin not necessarily looking terrible, but there is definitely, I think, some more more time to wait for Onyx coin. I think the most important thing that we can see here from ZBCN is, first off, we've got what looks to be a pretty nice consolidationary structure that's been happening, and it's been going on probably since what do we see here, like May, kind of the end of May is kind of where we probably first started establishing this structure. You can see here that's kind of the top trend line. We get rid of some of these. We'll also be able to see that the bottom trend line goes back quite a bit further than that, starting probably back at like the end of April. So you can see, if we kind of take a quick longer look at this, you can see it's a pretty nice consolidationary structure that is forming. You can see we do have a little bit of a bounce coming off of this bottom trend line here. We kind of fallen through and closed below this level of support that we had kind of seen hold up a decent bit with some fairly large wicks. We broke through that, but only momentarily, to touch the bottom of this support structure. And then we have, at least for right now, seen a bounce. We'll have to see kind of exactly what goes on here. Debating, considering kind of taking a long here. We'll see, we'll kind of see what happens. We have seen a fairly large rejection wick at this point, so there's not a guarantee that it will continue up, of course. But I think if we close above this level of support, we could have some potential momentum to the upside. But again, we'll just have to see. So this is another thing that I am monitoring fairly closely, because as I said, this is a really fairly strong looking consolidationary structure. So we'll just be keeping an eye on that. Also, you can see some really, really impressive news coming in for ZBCN. You can see here, these are the July payroll numbers. We don't necessarily have a huge point of reference in terms of the actual payroll. You can see they have 232 enterprise clients, almost 12,000 employees served, and then $44 million of payroll volume monthly and $22 million weekly. You could also see on the cards about $53.2 million done in July, as well as 12,131 cards issued in 97 countries. No change in countries, and then a 2% increase in both cards issued as well as volume increase. So looking pretty good there. Again, this is kind of more of just like a base level that we'll start tracking here in the future. You can see, obviously, a 2% month over month increase on cards. Not too bad overall. And then, of course, with payroll, a decent bit of volume going on here. But I do think that, we could see this going up a potentially fairly large amount. So we'll just keep tracking this. But I think that this is some really good news to see that, like, their product is actually working. There are people actually using their product. Now it just is more of a matter of watching more people and trying to track the usage adoption of their product, because that is really kind of the important thing here. Moving on, they also are now SOC 2 compliant. You can see this GateKnox was leading this. This was the acquisition they did back at the beginning of the summer. This is one that kind of started to slow down some of the progress, or at least it seemed like it slowed down some of the progress. They are now kind of fully integrated, and we're seeing a strong move here from GateKnox. So they're essentially they've been completed, or they have completed their SOC 2. So that is going to be a very big thing, particularly that's like basically a requirement for payroll companies. And so the fact that they now have this, I think this is going to be very important for other companies that are looking to potentially change and find a new payroll solution. This is going to be a huge thing for the ZBCN network. So this is also really, really good to see. You can see here, this is there's very few companies in crypto that have achieved SOC 2 compliance, making this a very significant milestone. And I would agree with this. You do have to have a lot of things to be able to be SOC 2 compliant. And so the fact that ZBCN has completed this, in my opinion, is a very, very big thing. So, kind of tie this and this with what's going on here with price. I think this is overall a really, really good thing to see. And it's a great kind of indication of things to come in the future. They continue to build, price continues to consolidate. There is a world, I think, in which we see a potential breakout here. So again, I kind of remain bullish on ZBCN. This is one that I'm going to be watching very closely, and we'll just have to kind of see what happens from it. But overall, things looking really nice from ZBCN. Now, with Onyx coin, it's a little bit of a different story here. You can see, actually, we were kind of going into a little bit of a consolidationary structure here. We did a little bit of a breakout and then kind of since just kind of withered away, not really getting much attention, not really seeing much hype. Onyx coin, in my opinion, is kind of one of those that is more hype based, more attention based than maybe kind of the standard. Like if you think about something like ZBCN is one that can just go away and build, and then they'll come back and they'll be a stronger product. Onyx coin still has that, but just given kind of some of the dynamics surrounding the token, it's a little bit more kind of hypey, and it's a little bit more kind of based on narratives. And so the fact that we haven't kind of had a narrative that kind of coincides or aligns with Onyx coin, I think is kind of leading to what we've seen out of some of this, which is decreasing volume, decreasing price. People are just kind of, they've gone away and they don't necessarily care so much about Onyx coin. Like if you look back at over here, you could see, massive spikes in volume, massive interest in price, or increase in price, things like that. Have not really seen that recently. And so I think, given what we've seen so far, it probably means that we probably bleed down into this 0.008 range. There hasn't really been anything to indicate that the price or the selling pressure won't stop. Maybe it does. Maybe we've seen a bottom here, but it would not surprise me at all if we continue back down, kind of bounce off of this 0.008 cent range, or I guess 0.8 cent range, I guess is what it would be. And then maybe we see a bounce from there. But who knows, potentially we continue to kind of glide down even lower and lower. It's hard to say. I do think, just kind of given the dynamics of what we've seen off of Onyx coin's chart, we would need to see a little bit of a bounce, kind of off of one of these, and we'd need to see a bit of like a news event to kind of help push price back upwards. Maybe it's, the government integrating something with blockchain. Maybe it's something, some institutional thing. This is kind of what moved Onyx coin the first time. We'll have to see. But at least for right now, I'm not really doing anything with Onyx coin, just because it doesn't really seem that there's a great opportunity or a great kind of infrastructure or a structural type of position here yet. So just going to be leaving it alone though. From the news perspective though, you can see that Onyx coin is actually still working. They're still building, they're still doing stuff. You can see here they've kind of really focused in on this like Onyx AI agent. They're essentially like, I think, trying to build it in to help people understand kind of how to use crypto and how to use their product a little bit better. So again, this does kind of, silo this product kind of directly to the usage of their coin. But again, if they get some sort of enterprise partnership, then this is of course a massive deal, and then they will essentially have some level of captive audience. But right now it's not necessarily super useful until people start actually onboarding directly into their ecosystem. But you can see they have they're continuing to push updates for their Onyx DAO smart wallet. You can see it's on the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. So if you are looking for a wallet, you can download the Onyx wallet. Again, this is kind of for their like layer 3, I think is what they're calling it. It's for their ecosystem directly. So again, still the usage is relatively limited to their ecosystem. Until there's a reason to use their ecosystem, there's probably not going to be really too many reasons to download the app. So again, this is just more of a kind of the age-old tale of adoption. Can they get people to use it? Can they get people to show up and stick around? That is going to be kind of the question that needs to be answered for Onyx coin. So at least right now you can see nothing, hasn't really made any major moves, haven't really seen any kind of narrative shifts or anything like that that would shift in the direction of Onyx coin. But that's not to say it can't. I just think, we haven't seen it yet. But with ZBCN, it does continue to look to get stronger with time. And so I am very interested to see kind of what happens next with the ZBCN coin and how all that ends up working out. So overall, that's kind of a quick update on both ZBCN as well as XCN, as well as some little trading updates that we had in the middle there. So hopefully you found the information in this video useful. Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback. What did you find helpful? What would you like to see more of? What do you not necessarily care so much about? I'd love to hear all of it. I do really appreciate all of the feedback. So if you have anything like that that you do want me to see, just feel free to drop in the comment section. I do try to read and respond to all of that. So thanks for tuning in, and also feel free to like, subscribe if you found the information useful. And I do have those affiliate links in the description below if you are interested in getting signed up for those and starting to trade and kind of dip your feet in with that. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.